Good afternoon. My name is Cornelius de Rosario, and I'll be presenting the research paper using data mining to predict secondary school student performances by Paulo Cortez and Alicia Silva from the University of Minho in Portugal. Uh, this study explores how machine learning can help schools to predict the student performances before their final examination. And instead of waiting until students fail, the researchers wanted to know whether schools could actually um, identify students who need support much earlier. During the presentation, I will explain the purpose of the study, the data that was collected, and the methods that was used by the researchers, and the statistical analysis, main findings, and the overall contribution of the paper. Okay, what we will cover in this presentation. So this is a 7 section that I have made, which are literally introduction and purpose, literature and framework, study area data methodology, descriptive data background, our statistical findings, results, and finally the conclusion. Um, Mainly, though, to sum up, it's I will explain why this study was conducted. Then we'll discuss the previous result that inspired the work. It will also explain where the data actually came from, the variables that were used, and the machine learning methods that were tested. Um, let's go to the next slide. So first of all, the introduction, uh, which is like motivation and research goals. Uh, to introduce this, I'd say education is the most important like thing because it helps students to build the successful futures. However, many students in Portugal were struggling in mathematics and Portuguese, and dropout rates were high. The researchers believed schools should identify struggling students instead early of waiting until final grades are released. Their first goal was to predict student performances accurately. Their second goal was to explain um, um, to which academic, family, or social factors influence success to teachers that can provide early support. So here are the numbers that I've taken, from the research paper, which shows 40% of early school leaving rate, the European Union average for the same measure, and as we discussed, that there were like core two subjects that were studied. Okay, so the literature review. Um, the authors reviewed the earlier students that used educational data mining. Previous researchers successfully used methods used as decision trees and neural networks, Bayesian networks, and naive Bayes. Um, Most earlier students used their small data sets and or compared um, only a few algorithms. But this study actually extends previous work by comparing four machine language models where real school data also identifying the most important factors that affecting the performances. Now come to the study area and data collection. Um, Here you can see a small survey that was been made, based on uh, 37 question survey, and total 788 students actually participated into that survey, and this data actually came from two public secondary schools in Portugal during the 2005 and 2006 school year. The researcher combined school records with student questionnaires, and student records also included the grades and their attendances. And uh, while their questionnaires collected informations about the family background and study habits, their health, their social activities. And after collecting the data, two data sets were created, one for mathematics and another for Portuguese data sets. So in this slide, the researchers included academic variables such as previous grades, absences, and previous failures. Um, there were they are demographic, they're different they differentiated into different part by through demographic, school related, social, emotional, and prior grades. So these are all the information that they used in this survey. um, the final grade they called is G3, which was the value they wanted to predict actually. In this slide, the researchers compared four algorithms, which is decision tree, random forest, neural network, and support vector machine. They predicted the pass or fail, five performances level, and the exact final grade. To make the result visible uh, and more reliable, they used the repetitive tenfold cross validation so that every record was tested um, multiple times. So now comes to the chart. So this is what the data actually look like. So, this is the approximate frequencies that I've taken, the number that I actually found out in the research paper. These are the approximate number based on the, what the chart actually looked like. But before applying for any machine learning models, the researchers first explored the data to overall pattern of the student, to understand the overall pattern of the student performance. This is an important step, which is because it helps to identify the trends before making any predictions. As you can see from the chart, mathematics has a much larger number of students in grade V, which is here, and which represents a failing performances. And the Portuguese, on the other hand, has more students in the middle categories, where like this, and you know, especially grades 3 and grade 4, which means they are satisfactory and sufficient performances. There are also more Portuguese students in the high achievements levels compared with mathematics. Although these values are approximate and like I said, are based on figure 1 from the research paper, they clearly show the students generally perform better in Portuguese than mathematics. The researchers also observed that the first and second grade, second period grades, called G1 and G2, G1 and G2, they actually were strongly related to the final grade, suggesting that the earlier performance is a strong indicator of future success. Here, the researchers measured the classification accuracy using the percentage of correct classification, or PCC. That's what we call PCC. Um, for predicting exact grades, they used the root mean square, or RMSC, square error, or RMSC, where lower values indicate better prediction. And this table is actually summarizing uh, the binary classification uh, which results reported in the research paper for setup A. It compares the prediction accuracy um, of five models, for both mathematics and Portuguese. So these are five models, and the results are for mathematics and Portuguese. They used a statistical test with a 95% confidence level um, to confirm that the difference between models was statistically significant rather than caused by chance. In this slide, we can see the random forest, generally produce the highest classification, accuracy, while the decision trees also perform very well. You know, so when the previous grades were included, the prediction accuracy was very high. But when the previous grades were removed, um, the accuracy dropped considerably, showing the earlier academic performance is a strong predictor. Here, for predicting the exact grades, random forest again produced the lowest prediction error. Um, Here, the Portuguese grades were slightly higher, slightly, yeah, easier to predict than mathematics. These results show that the machine learning can estimate final grades accurately when enough information is available. So what drives the prediction beyond grades? Beside the previous grades, attendance and the previous failures were among the strongest predictors. This chart shows which non-grade factors, excuse me, non-grade factors were most important when the researchers removed the previous grades from the prediction model. So past failures had the highest number of importance, followed by closely is absences. It tells us the student academic history and attendance still provide a strong information when the current grades are unavailable. The school support and a student's goal of pursuing higher education and the mother's occupation, also contributed to the prediction, although their influence were kind of smaller. This result is important because it shows that academic performance depends on more than just the grades actually, and family background, attendance, and student motivation also play the meaningful roles. In this slide, uh, decision trees are useful because they produce easy to understand then if then rules, and teachers can use these rules to understand why a student may be predicted to succeed or struggle. This makes the result practical as well as accurate as well. Well, in the conclusion, the study shows that the machine learning can accurately predict students' performance. Random Forest achieved the overall best performance, um, while the decision trees provided a clear and interpretable result. The key contribution of the paper is demonstrating how predictive analytics or analysis can help a school identify at-risk students to early provide them a timely support. Uh, but thank you so very much for listening. Have a good afternoon.